All right, I got 2 o'clock.
And we're good.
All right, let's let them in. All right, everybody, welcome to this latest rendition of the AD Roundtable. We are just absolutely blown away by this partnership with the NIAAA. Really looking forward to it today. So thanks for joining us. We are in the midst of what I like to call fake fall here in the South. We have temperatures in the upper 50s in the morning and around 80 by the end of the day. But again, the heat will be back soon enough. We get this little, like I said, it's fake fall. And so we're just going to take it all in. Before we get started, I do feel the need just to send our thoughts and prayers to the people in Minneapolis, Minnesota today at a shooting at a school there. And just again, a very uncomfortable reality of what it is to be in education these days. My mom thought a long time ago when I went into education, it wouldn't be something she'd have to worry about. She's told me that time and time again. So just thinking of them today. Before we get into our special guest, want to take a moment, thank the NIAAA Executive Director Phil Risen and Associate Executive Directors Rich Barton and Becky Moran for seeing the value of the AD Roundtable and reaching out to make this partnership happen. And to NIAAA Communication Manager Justin Chapman for his work in promoting and creating the digital resources for the NIAAA AD Roundtable. They've been great to work with and have really played a key role in getting us to today. Lastly, I'd like to shout out the over 300 ADs who jumped on board as part of the AD Roundtable over the last few years. You were the ones that helped get us to this point because you just kept saying yes and kept showing up week in and week out. So thank you to all of you. All right. We are thrilled to welcome Kevin Paul Scott back to the AD Roundtable as our special guest. This is his third time sitting down with us as he joined us. He was our second overall guest. Randy Gravitt beat you, Kevin, but back in March of 2022 and then again in March of 2024. Kevin is a speaker, author, leadership expert who has traveled to 6 continents and worked with Fortune 500 companies, nonprofits, and schools alike. He's the co-founder of ADO, an organization dedicated to inspiring people to live for more. And he's the author of several books, including our book recommendation for this month, Inspired Every Day, 7 Indispensable Ingredients to Living and Leading with Impact. Kevin's message couldn't come at a better time for those of us that are serving in high school athletics. We all know that being an AD is a 24/7 job, scheduling buses, handling eligibility, navigating parents, managing budgets, while still trying to support our coaches and athletes. In the middle of that grind, I know it's easy for us to lose sight of why we do what we do. And Kevin is here today to help us remember just how to stay inspired and not just once in a while, but every single day. Kevin, thanks again for always saying yes. And once again, welcome to the AD Roundtable.
Man, thanks for having me. It's good to be back. I hate getting beat by Randy Gravitt, but if I'm going to get beat, he's one I'd get beat by.
I tell you, if you got to come in second, that's not too bad. So let's go ahead and jump into it. First, tell us about the book, and I'm gonna use a softball here. What inspired you to write it? Why do leaders need it right now?
Yeah, well, I think all of us could use some more inspiration. Let me give you back up just a little bit. In 2011, we started our company, ADO. ADO is the Latin word for inspire, and kind of naively optimistic at the time, this belief that, everybody's looking for inspiration. And we had some great initial companies partner with us. Chick-fil-A, we run their high school leadership program, the Atlanta Braves, the Baltimore Ravens. But here's what I found. I found myself sitting across the table in a business environment from CFOs and COOs who kind of were like, that inspiration, that sounds fluffy. I don't think that's really something we need. And I had a little bit of a crisis for a bit of like, is inspiration, does it really matter? Is inspiration really just the high fives at the end of the championship game, or is it something that drives and sustains peak performance? And what I found is two things. Number one, when we are inspired, there is I'm going to use a business term here, there is an ROI. There is a return on that inspiration. That if we're consistently inspired, things are going to be better. The performance will be better. But the second thing, and this was the unlock, was that there's a formula or a process, if you will, that if you have these ingredients, that you will be inspired. And Coach, the other part is also true, is that if you don't have those things, you will never consistently be inspired. And that's why a lot of us, the beginning of the year, we're feeling good. We hire a new coach, we're feeling good about it. But the day in, day out grind, oftentimes, if we're not intentional, will leave us uninspired.
That is really, really good. Now, when you look at the job itself, okay, here you are talking to over 100 ADs right now. They are often asked to balance quick problem solving with deep relationship building, right? And when I say that, those things, it's like two rams, right? Like out in the field running into one another. How do you advise leaders to respond quickly and personally when issues arise, whether it be with parents, coaches, or athletes?
Okay, I'm going to give you, let's talk each of those individually because we need both. Let's talk about the personal piece first. How do you respond personally? This is the job where we've got to we got to do the consistent inputs over time. Here is the gap that I find for a lot of leaders, and ADs definitely would fall into this. In our relationship building efforts, we often try to compensate for lack of consistency with bursts of intensity. What I mean by that, oh, we brought all of our coaches together and we did the dinner, and so we've invested in them. Or I spoke to a school system at their kickoff this year. I thought it was cool. They brought every single coach in a room together from the entire district, and it was awesome. But sometimes we think if we do that one time, that's enough. And that's kind of like saying, hey guys, I didn't go to the gym for 6 months, but I'm going to work out for 12 hours straight tomorrow.
Yeah.
Or I didn't brush my teeth for 3 months, but I'm going to brush my teeth for 3 hours straight. You can't compensate for lack of consistency with bursts of intensity. So that's the relationship building. There's got to be the inputs. Now, those challenges, what I would say in that is that we've got to be willing to confront them head on. And Don, have we talked about the cow and the buffalo before?
There are a lot of people on here that haven't. I would love for you to.
I was thinking about that again this week because I struggle with this one.
Yep.
If you've heard it before, just hold with me for a second. But if you are, let's go with cows first. If cows sense a storm coming, their instinct is to move away from the storm. So if you're standing in a field and the storm is moving west to east, cow senses the storm, it's going to start moving east. So it's going to run away from the storm. The problem is the cow is slow. The cow will never outrun the storm, but the cow keeps trying to move away from it. And what it ends up meaning is as the storm catches the cow's still moving away from it, and the cow ends up spending more time in the storm than they would had they just stayed still. Buffalo, the exact opposite. When a buffalo senses a storm coming, its instinct is to confront the storm head on, to move in the direction of it. So if you imagine storm is moving this way, buffalo moves this way, because the buffalo is willing to confront the storm head on, they actually reach the storm faster and they spend less time in the mess. Now, if you're like me, if you are a people pleaser, conflict avoider, you are going to spend way more time dealing with storms and issues than if you will just confront them head on. If you'll say, you know what, it's not going to be fun, it's not going to be enjoyable, but this bad news is not going to get better with time. I'm going to pick up the phone, I'm going to have the conversation, I'm going to confront the problem. That balanced with having the relational equity confronting the problems head on always leads to better results than waiting for those and hoping they're going to get better.
The first time that you talked about that was at an event that we have both been to a lot, and I have on the corner of my desk, it's a drawing of a buffalo or a bison walking into a storm. And I tell people all the time, I don't have pictures of my kids on my desk. I know what they look like, right? Like I need stuff on my desk that is going to keep me right in the job and in the moment. And so thank you for that way back then. And then, like I said, it's something that I look at every single day. And kind of to parlay that, you have mentioned before that stress in the right proportion can sharpen us, but too much can break us, right? So when we're talking about conflicts, that stress is a big part of this gig. What are practical ways ADs can harness stress as fuel rather than letting it overwhelm them? A lot of times I've tell people all the time, when you get your name on the letterhead, the dream is the journey. Like, you get it all, right? You get the good and the bad. And I'm a Georgia Bulldog fan. You can at me later, but Coach Smart, he says that pressure is a privilege. He says that all the time. So maybe talk about how to harness stress for the positive, if that makes sense.
Yeah, a couple thoughts here. The first is that it does start with your perspective. I always say that how you view things changes how you do things. So how you view stress makes a difference. And that sounds easy enough, but what does that mean practically? Well, it's about viewing problems in the right way. I was with a group recently, and I asked them this question, and I'm not going to get too philosophical here, but I want to ask everybody. I know these ADs, some of them are they got things going on in the background, a lot of things going on, but I want to ask everybody to think about this one thing in their mind right now. Think about what you have accomplished in your life that you are most proud of. Like, everybody right now, just what is that one thing you're most proud of? And some of you are thinking about personal things. It's your kids that are grown. It's your marriage, or go work, paying your way through school. It's something personal. Some of you are thinking about something professional. It's the state title you won. It's when you got the promotion to athletic director. There's something professional you've accomplished. Doesn't matter if it's personal or professional. Everybody who's accomplished something meaningful in their life, if they look back on it, they were always things that were difficult. It's never, you don't ever look back and say, man, I'm most proud of that thing. It was so easy. It didn't mean anything to me. The things we accomplish in life that are meaningful are always hard. But think about this fact. Most of us wake up every day of our lives trying to make our life as easy as possible. It's just how we're wired. The things that are meaningful are hard, yet we're trying to make our lives easier. And that's why that perspective piece is important. We've got to be willing to look at the stresses and the challenges and say, man, you know what? This is not fun. It's not easy, but what can I learn in this season? How am I going to get better because of it? And I find the further you move up in leadership, sometimes that's tougher. So when you were a coach and you could quantify pretty easily wins and losses on the field, or seeing player development day to day, but now when it's some of those people issues, or it's a parent that's mad at you, or it's an administrator, your principal who's frustrated with you, or that tends to be tougher to quantify. But what you got to understand is the right problems will make you a better person. The stress will help you. And those seasons of stress should not, they shouldn't define you, but they should drive you to want to figure out how you can continue to get better as a person. And when I say that there are 3 indispensable ingredients to be inspired, one of those 3 ingredients is problems. Purpose, partners, and problems. What I'm telling you is this: if you have no stress in your life, that may feel good for a day or 2 days, but at some point, believe it or not, you're actually going to be bored. And one of the reasons that some people aren't inspired is because they don't have the appropriate challenges connected to their purpose in their life.
Holy cow. That's huge. The kind of a running theme of the AD roundtables, we try to give athletic directors something that our hope is, anyway, that they can immediately implement that it's a tool that they could take it and they could plug it in. It's plug and play, right? The event that I was talking about earlier that you speak at on a regular basis, I feel like I leave that event every single time, and I've got something I can plug in right then and make my job better and more productive. If you had to give one challenge to every high school athletic director listening today, something they could implement tomorrow and maybe be more inspired every single day, what would it be?
Oh, yeah. I'm gonna share the thing that I struggle with because this helps me. If I can do this, it helps. This quote changed my perspective on how to build the right relationships to be inspired. There's a guy named John Gardner that said, I pity the leader. Okay, not Mr. T, I pity the fool. Okay, so I pity
Okay.
the leader caught between unloving critics and uncritical lovers. Okay, that is a weird term in leadership, but hold with me for a second. He said, I feel sorry for people that on one end have unloving critics. Y'all know these people. They don't like you, they don't care about you, they criticize every decision you make, they criticize. So if you got those people on one end, that's no fun. But he said on the other end, they have uncritical lovers. These are people that say they like us, but they just tell us what they want to hear, what we want to hear, not what we need to hear. So what he's saying is, I feel sorry for leaders that have the negative people on one end, and then the people that are just the brown nosers. They'll tell you what you want to hear on the other end. If you're caught between those, you're in a problem. What you need is the third option, the loving critics. You need people who like you enough to tell you, to encourage you when you need it, but to challenge you when you need it too. So you say, Kevin, that's great, but what can I take with me and do right now? If you find yourself in a season where you don't feel like you have those people, my challenge is to be that person. What I mean by that is you've got to figure out how in your life you can give the encouragement to the coaches, the students, the teachers, the principals, the parents, whoever you're interacting with at that time, encourage them where they need it, but at the same time, love them enough to give them the appropriate amount of challenge. Um, in our world with Chick-fil-A, we say it this way: we got to value both results and relationships. If you lean too far to one end or the other, you're on this results end and you're not doing well relationally, you're going to struggle long term. And if you're all on relationships and you're not holding people accountable to results, you probably shouldn't be in your position long term. That's harsh, but that's just the truth. And so value both results and relationships, be the loving critic. And even if you don't have those around you, be that person for somebody else.
So good. What we're going to do here just for a few minutes. Do you have a few more minutes
Yeah,
with us?
absolutely.
Okay, beautiful. If you've got a question that you would like to, if you'd like to ask Kevin, feel free to put that in the chat. Becky is going to kind of look at them, and if there's something that that jumps out, she's going to jump in and ask it while we kind of wait on people to do that. Again, if you've got a question for Kevin, put it in the chat, and then Becky will kind of catch us up. I just kind of want to take something from. You said that you heard a leader say, what you meditate on, you magnify, and what you magnify controls you.
Man.
Let's break that down for a minute.
So this was actually a young guy on our team was sharing something one time with us. We asked our team to give us some advice or things they were learning. And he used this picture that a lot of times the story we're telling in our mind is driving our lives. And this was the image I've never forgotten. He said, imagine that you're sitting on the front row of an IMAX movie theater. So you just think of this huge screen that's immersive. And he said the film that you're constantly playing will end up determining your life. He said, and that was his line there, what you meditate on, so what you focus on, you magnify. So I'm thinking about it, I'm making it bigger, and what you magnify ends up controlling you. Um, there's a proverb that says, as someone thinks in their heart, so are they. Means the things that you're spending your time on mentally are actually determining way more of your life than you'd want to realize. And so this sounds kind of self-helpy, but I'm telling you the truth, the psychology is there. If you change your thinking, you can change your life. Some of you are in a situation right now that things aren't going well. The first thing you need to change is what you're thinking about.
Hmm. Uh, I tell you what, too, and that's another thing too. The whole let them theory,
Yeah,
right? Yeah,
man.
there's Mel Robbins and that theory. There's so much of this job that is out of our control sometimes, especially when it comes to just how people feel about you. I tell people all the time, my phone doesn't ring a ton. People ask me, "How you doing today?" Right? It's usually a fire that they won't turn into a candle, and so we can't get caught up in what other people's reaction is. All we can do is really kind of focus on us. So again, I
Totally
think
agree.
that's a big part of what we do.
It's awesome.
Marty Crowley is unmuted. Marty, do you have a question for
Oh,
Kevin?
sorry. My bad. Sorry.
I guess not. Dr. Jim Wright put in the chat that, break that habit of being yourself, right? That's kind of what you're talking about, is how do you have those conversations with yourself? And can you maybe dig into a little bit more about that when you start to go down that path of things you're meditating on or thinking about that are not positive?
Yeah, I liked his the break the habit of being yourself. So you've got to be able to take what's coming in your mind. And somebody said it to me one time, is treating your mind like a conveyor belt. So imagine you're working at UPS or FedEx, and there's a conveyor belt of the packages. If they represent your thoughts, what happens a lot of us is we think that we have no control over them, and we may not have control of the thought that pops into our mind. The question is, are we going to pick it up? Are we going to hold it? Are we going to focus on it? Are we going to allow that to go back? Hey, that thought is negative. That's bad, but I'm going to put it back on the conveyor belt. I'm going to let it keep passing, and I'm going to choose to focus on some other ones. And we actually have a lot more choice in our thoughts than we believe. So I think that's just choosing. You got to think about what you're thinking about, and that will determine a lot in your life. I like Mike said in here, what you think, you create. And I like Matt's too. Your input shapes your output, and your output shapes your behavior. Is so true. And here's the thing: what I'm talking about right now, Don, none of these are things that we've never heard before.
Right.
But yet, and I want to say this, and I want to say with all the grace I can, I find a lot of times ADs they were so good at knowing those things as a coach, but as you deal with different crap at this level than you did before. And so some of those simple disciplines that mattered before, sometimes you stop applying in the same way, and they matter as much now as they did then, if not more.
And probably as we close you out here, I know that you've told this before. You've told this quite often. Um, the return on investment in education is like playing a stock market, right? It's not immediate. It is much further down the road when we have students that come back and basically they tell us they were ready. They were ready for whatever it was that came next. And I think that, and we may never know that, right? But could you maybe talk about where you are now, right?
Yeah.
And a conversation that you had with an assistant principal a long time ago that probably at the time when that conversation was had, you
Yeah.
probably didn't envision where you would be right now and how that impacted you.
Man, there's no doubt. Uh, it makes me smile to think about it, because I was the kid that, if you're an AD that also has to deal with discipline or stuff, and you're in a high school or you're dealing with that, man, I was the person that ended up at your office sometimes. And my senior year, we had a homecoming deal at the school, different floats. I'll shorten the story for the sake of this, but our group of senior guys made a decision that was not ethical, but we sabotaged a float. We blamed it on a different class. We did all these kind of things, and it was actually pretty clever. It just wasn't very ethical. And I remember sitting across from assistant principals, Billy Richardson, and he looks at me, and he could have said a lot of things, but this is what he said. He said, "It's obvious that you're a leader." I'm like, you could have said a lot of things right then. It was actually not obvious to me. It was obvious that I was a troublemaker, but he said, it's obvious that you're a leader. And then this was the question. He said, the question is whether you're going to use your leadership ability for good or for bad. So what's interesting is he called me to my highest and best. He set an aspiration in front of me of my potential, but didn't just do it and, oh, you're so great. Then he challenged me. And I think, man, when we can do that, and I think about now the kid that was sitting in the assistant principal's office now, just one of the things we do is running a high school leadership program in 1,400 high schools in 42 states. And I don't know, had he not taken the time to speak truth and love into my life, I don't know that I'd be doing that now. So I think remembering even some of those challenging conversations can have a lasting impact.
So good. Kevin, how can people get in touch with you if they liked what they heard today, they read the book, they want to reach out to you?
Yeah, well, probably the best way is you can go to my website. It's kevinpaulscott.com. The book is a great tool if you're trying to find a way to bring your coaches together around some topics that are pretty tangible. So it's called Inspired Every Day. You can get it on Amazon. Or if you got bulk orders, you can go to my website and click contact and we can do that. And I'm probably most active on LinkedIn. So I don't know if anybody's hanging out on LinkedIn, but that's where I'm hanging out the most.
All right, good deal. Kevin, thank you so much for the time, and thank you for continuing to say yes. We appreciate you.
Thanks, Don. It's always good to be with you.
All right, moving on to so Kevin's book is our book recommendation. So by all means, I strongly suggest that you get a hold of that one. He has several books. This is just one that really spoke to me, so I wanted to share it with you today. Our podcast recommendation is Diary of a CEO. I don't know if you are familiar with that one or not. The host is Stephen Bartlett. It is the tagline of the theme is to share the unfiltered pages of the personal diaries of the world's most fascinating CEOs, experts, therapists, and leaders. And he's not literally putting anybody's personal diary on the table. But what he is doing is sitting these people down and picking their brain. And they are extremely vulnerable with him. They're extremely open with him. And there are so many takeaways that you can use in business that apply to what we do because we are the biggest business in your building. And so as a result, there's a ton that you can take away from that. He brings a lot of communication experts in there. I just recently listened to one that dealt with health, breathing techniques, ways to, improve your lung capacity and stuff like just all of these things that may get pushed to the wayside as we lead. So just kind of wanted to make sure that I passed that along. So Diary of a CEO by Stephen Bartlett. Want to kind of begin our discussion here with something that we may or may not have covered before on the previous rendition of the AD Roundtable, and that is what we like to call in my district our 20-minute meeting. This is a kind of came out of the Damar Hamlin cardiac arrest incident that happened several years ago. And in doing research on that, the NFL has what they call a 90-minute meeting. It happens 90 minutes before kickoff, and every individual that is associated or affiliated with the EAP for that venue, they meet in a room 90 minutes before kickoff, and they introduce one another. They go over what their roles are so that if in the event they need to activate that EAP, they're able to do that, and people know who each other are, and they know what to expect. And quite frankly, in the event of Damar Hamlin, it saved his life. So the image that you see there, this is what we are doing this year. So before every home football game, we're also going to carry it over to basketball as well. I feel like once we move from outdoors to indoors, it presents a completely different set of could be challenges when you're talking about activating an emergency action plan. But before every football game, we're calling it a 20-minute meeting. It happens 20 minutes before kickoff. It is not a 20-minute long meeting. It is just when it occurs. It'll take you about 5 minutes, but I would argue it is the most important 5 minutes of the night. But you see here, you have law enforcement, you have athletic trainers, you have athletic directors, you have members of both coaching staffs, you have EMTs, and you have the officials. and everyone goes around the circle, and they all say who they are. They introduce themselves, and then they say what their role is for the evening. And I took this picture recently, and for the third year in a row, we are on week 3 of our football season here in Georgia. The very first week, we had a mass severe weather event come through week 1, right out of the jump. And literally less than 5 minutes after we had this meeting, we had lightning that showed up on us pretty quickly, and we had to activate that EAP. But the athletic director had just gone over, if we need to evacuate, this is where we're going to go. The trainers and the medical personnel were able to say, listen, in the event we have to transport someone, this is what it's going to look like. The law enforcement personnel were able to say, in the event that we have an active shooter, for example, this is the expectation, and this is how we're going to handle it. But it just gives everybody a sense of, this is what's going to happen if need be. You hope you don't have to press play on it, but if you do, seconds are an eternity. And so anything that you can do to shorten that response time is going to be critical. I know that just recently in Kentucky, they had a high school football game where they had a shooting in the parking lot. I think they just arrested a 14-year-old for that shooting. But to be able to plan for something like that and hope that it never happens, it's like insurance, right? You hope you never have to activate it, but in the event that you do, then you've got something there. And so I just kind of wanted to share with that. If you're curious about implementing a 20-minute meeting before your stuff, by all means, make sure that you reach out to us. See, there Tennessee has done something as well. I'm going to swear by it. It's going to be kind of something that we do moving forward, just because I see so much value in it. So just kind of wanted to show you that. That's what it looks like before we kind of leaned into it and discussed it. Want you to continue to put in the chat if you've got something that you want to discuss. I've got one more little piece, one little tidbit that I'll go over. And if you've got something that is pressing, that one of the themes of the AD Roundtable prior to us partnering with the NIAAA is that when we are in here, this is a safe space. And this is a place where if you feel like you're struggling with the best way to do something, put it out there. There are over 120 people in here right now. And let's see if we can't collectively help you out. So feel free to put that in the chat if you've got something that you'd want to discuss. The other thing on my agenda for today, I'm not sure if you saw this, but the NCAA is weighing a rule that would require incoming Division I athletes to disclose name, image, and likeness deals from high school or junior college as part of the clearinghouse that was established with the House settlement. So that's brand new. So if a kid was to get a deal in high school, their junior year of high school moving forward, so junior and senior year of high school, they would have to report that deal before entering a Division I school. And the reason kind of behind it was the way that the House settlement is kind of laid out. Anything that exceeds $600 has to be reported. And if they don't, it could be a violation, which could affect their eligibility. And what it's really boiling down to, there are stipulations in the House settlement that one day could make payments from collectives and individuals obsolete. The only payment would come from, I guess, a third-party business, or it would come from the university. The majority of the money is going to come from the university. But if we get down that road, the question still remains: if an athlete is going to be held to certain expectations when it comes to being compensated for being an athlete, does that just incentivize boosters and collectives to pay the athletes before they're even enrolled? And so that's kind of the why behind that. But just kind of wanted to put that on your radar, that as I know that there's certain states. I know in the state of Georgia, we tried, there was a bill that it actually didn't get passed, but it would require all high school NIL deals to cease to end upon graduation of that athlete, in order to kind of protect them from what may come next. But again, just trying to get rid of those bad actors I think all of you that are involved in the recruiting aspect of your athletes know that the recruitment of athletes is getting earlier and earlier, all the way from freshmen and even eighth graders are being recruited. They want them committed by the time they're a junior at least. Or we're probably at most. And so kind of wanted to put that out there. Don't know how much you're having to deal with NIL in your state. I will tell you, it is not. It's not the big bad wolf that we thought it was going to be. In my district, we have the most NIL deals of any county in the state of Georgia, and it is 0.06% of all the athletes in my district. So again, a lot of high profile athletes, they don't want to do anything that's going to jeopardize their ability to make money at the next level. And it hasn't been the end all be all of high school athletics that we probably thought that it was going to be. So again, if you've got something that you'd like to discuss, by all means, we've got time. If there's something you want to talk about, or even if you want to discuss what your version of the 20-minute meeting looks like to maybe help us do that, feel free to do that. Becky, I'll let you kind of check the chat on both of those, and if there's something that jumps at you, feel free.
Yeah, there's a few people that put in here that they're doing it. Tennessee, Mike in Tennessee, Kelly in Georgia, Mike in New Jersey. Some of these are required. Brad said all levels of all sports in Wisconsin. Zach in Arizona talking about drilling and doing that. So if any one of you would like to unmute and maybe talk about how that's implemented, how that works in your space, that would be great.
Hey, Becky and Don, we do this in Greenville County. We call it the timeout before the game. And honestly, it came out of listening to others around the country. But as much as anything, we put it into our QPA project that we did as our district QPA project, so that we standardized what we expect all the way across the district.
A simple drill that we added in our space. We talk about fire drills and wind drills and emergency drills during the school day, but how often do we actually drill them after school? And just as simple as meeting with your team, send an email out the day of saying, just a reminder, here's your assignment for the day at the big event. And at some point during the game, we hop on the radios. This is a test. This is a test. Please move to your assigned area as if there were a fight in the stands, or as if there were a bench clearing brawl. And then we ask people to go to those areas. And when it's done, we say, thanks for participating. Drill is over. Doesn't impact anybody in the facility other than those of us who are the people assigned for emergency action. But at least we drill it and people know what they're doing. And to the point where those seconds can be an eternity, it's pretty useful.
So in Georgia, Dawn had shared the 20-minute meeting at one of our Metro AD meetings. And so we adopted that in Henry. And we all know in athletics and administration in general, if you don't document it, it didn't happen. And that's why I created the form to make sure that, we had some accountability behind that, and also some proactive planning, that it wasn't just another box to check. And the form asks questions so that all the information is gathered to make that meeting go smoothly. And then also on the drill side of things, we did that with our schools in making sure that they were prepared. And we did it on both sides, situational, and then also for an athlete emergency and a coach emergency, because we have a lot of teams that have a single coach. And so we wanted to make sure the athletes were prepared if the adult in charge of them suddenly went down.
That's good stuff. I know that Sherry asked Kelly about getting a copy of that form. If you want to send it to, if you don't have it right there and can put it in the chat, you can send it to me and we can get it sent out to everybody. Zach, you mentioned something as well, that idea of a fight. We have, unfortunately, that is becoming more and more prevalent, where you have tensions go sideways and kids and sometimes even coaches don't react the way they're supposed to. And that can be an extremely chaotic scene and event, and making sure that you implement that. It's not always a medical emergency. It's not always a weather emergency. It could be just something that happens in the process of the game, and not to let that get neglected as part of what is your emergency action plan. I think that's a really, really good point.
One thing I'd like to mention, if you don't mind, I call them our emergency action plans, is that during the day we do a great job as teachers in schools. In my opinion, most schools do, right? We have all these drills. So as athletic director, we have emergency teams during the day. So my afternoon teams are all my head coaches. So I don't have the luxury of having all my fields in one campus. So I'm at a town field, I'm at the middle school, I'm at the high school, and we have to have plans for every single field that we're at, and then my head coaches are my medical emergency team. So we have to practice, the drills. Who's gonna watch out for the ambulance? Who's doing this? Who's doing that? We all have some radios work, some don't. We use cell phones. It's I just started doing that recently, and I've been in the chair for 25 years. So I've only been doing that since we got back from COVID. I started thinking about how we don't do anything for practice after 3 o'clock, and we do a great job during the school day. So I think that's something that maybe the NIAAA or whatever, they could maybe take that on, because it's something that I think all ADs should practice, especially when you're managing, quite a few different facilities and different fields and different campuses. It's important. So I just incorporate my head coaches. You're my team. This is what we do. There's my trainer. I only have one, so he is very mobile, and we just kind of go through the motions and try to we haven't had any real emergencies, thank goodness, but we do practice them just in case.
Good deal. Dustin, I see you're unmuted. You want to chime in?
Yeah, I can't go without saying something.
Well,
but
you said it.
But yeah, I'll just say what everybody was thinking. Anyway, what we do here is I have my coaches practice it and document that. And then I go out when they are practicing, they're playing, whatever that may be. As you said, it could be a medical emergency, it could be an active shooter, it could be whatever it is. And then they say, well, this is the coach who was in charge of calling 911, or this player was in charge of calling 911. I said, okay, what happens if it's that coach? What happens if that coach is the one in the emergency? So how do you react to that situation? So I'll kind of change the narrative on them a little bit, just to let them think more in the moment. Because what we can control is how our team responds. What I can't control is how the general public's going to respond at a game if it's that kind of situation. So at least I can protect my team and let them know here's the process that we're going to follow, and I let them practice that out.
That's good stuff. I know that Kelly and Keisha both put resources in the chat. Feel free to do that and get those downloaded. And Dustin, you said something there that kind of brought up another point. When it's all good when you have to evacuate the stadium, but especially when it comes to weather and the weather leaves, right? How are you going to re-enter the stadium? I think that's something that the game that I was at that night, we had to be very strategic in how we were going to bring everybody back, right? So once we got cleared, we brought the kids back first, the teams back first, then we let the visitor fans came back, then the home fans came back. You have to kind of stagger that so that your people aren't overwhelmed at a gate, because you only have so many places to come in, and especially if you have certain security measures that are in place that you've got to kind of reboot and do that again. So thinking about that re-entry plan also is important. Kelly, I see you mentioned Positive Athlete. The nominations for Positive Athlete, if you don't know what Positive Athlete is, I would strongly suggest that you click on that link that Kelly put in the chat to learn about what Positive Athlete is. It is an organization that it simply wants to celebrate the best kids in your building for simply being good kids. Not necessarily they're the star quarterback or they're the star of the swim team. They are kids that exemplify interscholastic athletics, and so they are becoming more of a national organization. They have more of a national presence, but they've been in the state of Georgia for quite some time and have been just a wonderful group to work with. And so, she just, those nominations open first of September. So if you are in a state that has Positive Athlete, by all means, I'll sign off on it being a great organization. Again, got more people putting stuff in the chat, resources for you to use. And then Phil says, Positive Athlete and NIAAA are partner in honoring our athletes and coaches. They are, again, signed off by the NIAAA as well. So just another feather in the hat there, and in all 50 states. So you have no excuse, party people. All right, as we wrap up, anybody else have anything that you want to discuss? Anything weighing on your mind? I hope that you have found value in today, and I hope you continue to do that. If there are things that you want discussed on the AD Roundtable, do not hesitate to reach out to me. My name, Don Baker, DON Baker, BAKER, at Cobb K12.org is how you get in contact with me. And you will help us build this agenda. This is an us thing. We are better together. And again, I hope that those of you that have been with us in the past continue to stay with us. And I hope that if you were new to this today, that you found value in it, that you're going to come back. Our hope is that we keep continuing to bring you high quality speakers that they're going to give you content that you can implement immediately along with other resources. So again, if anybody has anything, by all means, put it in there. And it has been an absolute pleasure hanging out with you today. All right, Becky, I think we are
set. Thank you, everyone, for jumping
we are
on.
set. Appreciate you.